This video is sponsored by PCBWay. More on them in just a bit. Hey guys, welcome back to Bright Night Tech. My name is Berto and today we are working on my 3D printed Peacemaker helmet. Now this seemed pretty straightforward, but we hit some bumps in the road, but enough talk, let's get right into it. Alright, I got this file from Thingiverse from this user right here. He cut it into two pieces, but this is actually a remixed version of this file, which I didn't see, otherwise I would have printed it in full. I'm going to put the links in the description. This is the Peacemaker symbol that I used to create the helmet stand. I will also put that in the description. Alright, so first we got started on printing the back part of the helmet. This is done on my Centauri Carbon. Turned out pretty good. That's why I love using this printer, because you can get such a great result. And this is just on standard settings too. I didn't even put it on fine. Alright, next we did the front. I tried to do it at an angle as to kind of cut down on the little circle part that tends to come up on the top of helmets because of the orientation, but we went ahead and did it at an angle. Alright, you probably didn't need it on the bird, but I put supports there too. Okay, under the eyes, a little rough. That tends to always happen with my prints. It could be that I need to make the supports a little denser. Not really sure, but otherwise it turns out fine. I can fix that. Okay, the back part looks pretty good. Now, what we are going to do is, well, first of all, I taped it together so I can get a better idea of what it's going to look like when it's whole. And we are going to start with our wood filler. I always started with this. We are going to go a little bit thicker in under the eyes. But in order to clean it up just a little bit more, I am going to use my Dremel here and just try to get rid of some of that bigger material so we don't have to glob as much wood filler on there. But we're going to put a kind of thinner coat on the whole thing like this. That's going to help us reduce those layer lines like that. That is the front, looking good. Now we're going to work on the back part right here. I try my best not to get it too much into the little crevices and lines, because it could be kind of difficult to get it out once it's dry. So if you do, just try to get it out of there while it's wet. Alright, here is the base that I made for the stand. I just modified that symbol that I got. I always get a little bit of a rough top of it. I never use the ironing, but I should, because it might help me out. So we're going to let these dry overnight and then get to some sanding. Alright, ready for some sanding. Nice and dry. We're just going to go ahead and hit it all over and try to get it as smooth as possible, just like this. Alright, looking pretty good. That is the first go at that. Let's go ahead and do the back. Just like that. Now, it's always going to be a little bit rough because this is just like the first pass. So it's totally okay. We're just going to go ahead and just get it the best we can. Not a huge deal. Alright, now that these are pretty much done, it is time for filler primer. Alright, so I didn't show you guys filler primer because it's just me literally just spraying it. I'll show you guys a little bit later again. But we went ahead and sprayed these. These are ready for another round of sanding. As you can see, it looks a little bit rough, but that is totally normal. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to get these pieces as smooth as possible, and then we are going to do another pass with that wood filler in order to fill in some of those bigger divots and little scratches that maybe we weren't able to buff out on the second round there. So filler primer sanding like that. Alright, now we are going to go ahead and hit it again with the wood filler. Get those big pieces right there. Under the eyes are the big parts right there, corners, inside there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and do both sides, and that looks pretty good. We're going to let that dry overnight again, and then sand it down. Don't want to forget about the stand here, just a little bit. Alright, so this is dry. We're going to go ahead and sand this down, just like that. As you can see, it's a lot of sanding and filling and sanding and filling. So once we are done sanding these guys like this, you guessed it, more filler primer. But before we do that, we want to get these guys together since we are nearing the end of our passes here. So I'm going to get some super glue. I'm going to just put a little bit on there on the edge, and then we're going to do our best to line it up. And then it should hold pretty easy. Now that it's holding, we are going to do some plastic welding. I like to use this melting tool that I got and some leftover filament. We are going to press that onto the seam like that, use our melting tool to melt pieces of that filament plastic through the seam like that in order to make it a lot tougher and hang on better. Alright, before we get to the next part, let's get to a word from our sponsors. Just want to take a second and thank our sponsors, PCBWay. If you don't know who PCBWay is, well, let me tell you, they are your one-stop shop for manufacturing needs. They are best known for their custom PCB boards, but now they also offer design services. So from start to end, they can help you bring your ideas into reality. And right now, PCBWay is having an amazing sale for the foreseeable future on FDM TPU prints. The heavier you print, the more you save. Right now, you can save up to 40% on your TPU prints starting from $7.96. Do not miss out on this amazing sale. Order today. Links in the description. Check out these services and let PCBWay bring your ideas into reality. Okay, so now we are going to do filler primer. Again, we're going to do a very light coat because we are going to go through and smooth it out as much as we can. Alright, looks good. We're going to let this dry overnight before we get to that last bit of sanding. Alright, nice and dry. Let's get going. Okay, so looking really good. Now we are going to do, hopefully, our last pass and just get it as shiny as possible. Alright, a lot of sanding. I ended up using like a 3000 grit at the very end just to get that shine. Looking good. Alright, here is the stand. So I blocked off the inside. I taped it off so I can do red on the outside. Alright. Okay, and now for the helmet, we are going to hit it with a gloss white. And that is because I'm going to attempt to use graphite powder with a white gloss base instead of black, and just see how it turns out. I'm hoping I get a good silvery result. Alright, let's get back to the stand. Alright, so we got that red on there. Now we're going to take the tape off, so then we can do the yellow that's going to be in the middle there. Alright, looking pretty good. A couple little spots there we need to fix on the red, but that's okay. Alright, we're going to block off the inside of the bird there. Alright, while we do that, we are going to go ahead and use our makeup sponge, and we're going to start trying to put some of that graphite on there. We're going to lay it down, do a bunch of layers, and just see how silvery we can get it. Okay, so we were layering it a bunch. It looks like I was on the right track, but I did mess up on a side, and I tried to fix it up here in the front. I'll show you in a second. Problem is, you can't really fix these without having to redo the whole thing, because it's, you know, you're stacking layers of graphite. So you can't just like buff out one side and then just put more graphite on there, because it's going to be not as much. So we are going to pivot and just do straight up silver paint. Okay, I hate that after all that work we are just going to end up spraying it with this, but hopefully we still get a good result, and it's all a learning process, which is okay, and hopefully this turns out kind of decent, you know? Not exactly what I was expecting, but we'll make it work. Alright, while that is drying, I am going to tape off now the yellow. So what I'm going to use is this silly putty method. You just use some silly putty, put it in the places you don't want painted, and then you're going to paint over it. And it works really well. They sell like professional brand ones, but essentially it's just silly putty. So you might be spending a ton of money instead of, whatever I spent on this little bit of silly putty you know, on Amazon. It was like 10 of these little eggs, and it was like barely anything. Alright, so this is taped off. We're going to go ahead and paint it white, just like that. Alright, this is the next day after painting it, and all you do is just pull it off. I did find trouble doing this with a different project that has like a lot of details because the silly putty tend to stick to it. But when you're doing big areas like this, it's totally fine. Alright, we're going to take off that tape to reveal the red. And there you go. Looks pretty good. I love it. It's going to be a cool base. We did the silver on the helmet and nothing else to do but the glamour shots. And there you have it. Overall, I am pretty happy with the way it came out. Definitely not my smoothest work, but I have a little bit of an elbow injury, which made sanding very painful. So I did what I could. And I do want to be completely transparent with you guys. At the end of this project, I went ahead and did the clear coat, and I did not allow the silver to cure completely. I only gave it about a day, and it's been pretty cold here. And what happened was that the clear coat started beading and getting bumpy all over the helmet, pretty much just ruining it. So I tried to fix it and smoothed it out, sanded it, tried to do the wood filler primer, but there was still silver on there, and the filler primer just cracked over it, and I just tried to redo it over and over again. I just kept running into issues. I got so frustrated, I just went ahead and printed a second one. And the glamour shots, that is the second one that I printed. Everything before that was the original, so I have two now. And as you can see, I did somewhat try to fix this. There are still a lot of like little scratches and imperfections. And if you look really closely, the dove looks very gloopy because I had to put a ton of paint to try to smooth it out and fix it. But lucky for you guys, if you guys have ever wanted to own a subpar helmet made by me, you now have that chance. I am going to do a little bit of a giveaway. Make sure you follow my Instagram for details. I'm still trying to figure it out, but you can win this mediocrely made Peacemaker helmet by me. Definitely do not let this reflect my actual work. This is just kind of a fun little extra, and we will deal with that. But let me know if you guys have made this yourselves and how you did it. And thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and put in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button for notifications. And we will see you next time.